Two German Shepherd was found, shivering in a storm drain. What baby did next? Left everyone in tears. The screaming wouldn't stop. 5-year-old Ben pressed his small hands against the window, his breath fogging the glass as rain hammered against their apartment building. But the sound cutting through the storm wasn't the wind. It was something alive, something terrified, and it was calling for help in a way that made his chest hurt. Don't forget to like, share, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. "Mama, someone's crying," Ben said, tugging at his mother Sarah's scrubs. She had just walked through the door after a 16-hour shift at the hospital, her eyes red with exhaustion, her shoes still wet from running through the parking lot. The storm had been building all day, and now it was unleashing its full fury on their small suburban neighborhood. Sarah barely heard him over the thunder. "It's just the storm, sweetie." "Come away from the window." She kicked off her shoes, wincing as her feet touched the cold floor. Every muscle in her body ached. 2 nurses had called in sick, leaving her to cover the emergency room almost alone. All she wanted was to collapse into bed, but Ben was pulling harder now, his voice rising with urgency. "No, Mama, listen. Someone needs help. They're scared. They're so scared they can't breathe right." Sarah stopped. Something in Ben's voice made her skin prickle. He had always been different from other children. While kids his age played with toy trucks and watched cartoons, Ben would sit for hours watching birds through the window, whispering to them as if they could understand. The pediatrician said he was just imaginative, but Sarah sometimes wondered if there was more to it. Lightning flashed, illuminating Ben's face. Tears were streaming down his cheeks. "Please, Mama." "They're drowning." The word hit Sarah like ice water. She rushed to the window, pressing her face against the glass. Through the sheets of rain, she could barely make out the street below. Water was rushing along the gutters, carrying debris and trash. Then she heard it. A high-pitched wailing that definitely wasn't wind. "Stay here," she ordered, grabbing her raincoat. But Ben was already at the door, shoving his feet into his tiny rain boots. "I'm coming with you." "Ben, no." "They need me." His voice cracked with desperation she had never heard before. "Mama, they're calling for me. Not with words, but I can hear them. Please." Sarah stared at her son. His small face was set with determination that reminded her painfully of his father, who had died in Afghanistan when Ben was just 2. That same need to help, to save, no matter the cost. "Fine. But you stay right beside me. Hold my hand and don't let go." They burst out into the storm. The rain hit them like a physical force, instantly soaking through their coats. The crying was louder now, coming from the corner where the street dipped low, where the storm drain opened like a dark mouth. Sarah's heart sank. The drain was already half full with rushing water. Ben broke free from her grip and ran. "Ben, stop!" He dropped to his knees at the drain's edge, peering into the darkness. "I see her." "Mama, there's a dog down there." Sarah reached him just as lightning illuminated the drain's interior. A German Shepherd was pressed against the concrete wall, the water already up to her chest. The dog's eyes were wild with terror, her mouth open in continuous cries that were getting weaker. The water was rising fast. Too fast. "We have to get her out," Ben said, already trying to squeeze through the drain's opening. Sarah grabbed him, pulling him back. "You'll get swept away. I'll call 911. She fumbled for her phone with shaking fingers. The emergency operator's voice crackled through the rain. "Ma'am, we have multiple flooding emergencies. The earliest we can get someone there is 45 minutes. The dog will drown by then." "I'm sorry, ma'am. We have to prioritize human emergencies." Sarah hung up, her mind racing. The water was rising faster now, fed by streams from higher ground. The dog had stopped crying, her energy failing. She was shivering violently, her legs barely keeping her above water. "She says she's been here since yesterday," Ben said suddenly. "Someone threw her out of a van. She's hurt. Her leg doesn't work right." Sarah stared at her son. "Ben, dogs can't." "She's so tired, Mama. She's been trying to stay up all night, but she can't anymore. She's going to give up." As if to confirm Ben's words, the dog's legs buckled. Her head went under for a moment before she struggled back up, gasping. "Help! Someone help us!" Sarah screamed into the storm, but the street was empty. Everyone was inside, safe and dry. Then a door slammed. A large figure emerged from the house across the street, running toward them. It was Marcus, their neighbor, a retired firefighter who lived alone and rarely spoke to anyone. "What's wrong?" he shouted over the rain. "There's a dog in the drain. She's drowning." Marcus dropped beside them, assessing the situation with practiced eyes. "The opening's too small for me." "Too small for you too." He looked at Ben. "But not for him." "Absolutely not," Sarah said. "I can tie a rope around him," Marcus said, already running back to his house. "I'll hold him." "You guide him." "No, I'm not sending my baby into a storm drain." Ben grabbed her face with his small, cold hands. "Mama, she has babies inside her. I can feel them. Little hearts beating. If she dies, they all die." Sarah's breath caught. The dog was pregnant. She looked back at the drain. The water was up to the dog's neck now. Her head kept dipping under, each time taking longer to come back up. Marcus returned with a rope and a headlamp. "We do this now or not at all." Sarah's hands shook as she helped tie the rope around Ben's waist. Every instinct screamed against this, but Ben's face was calm, almost serene. "Tell me what to do," he said to Marcus. "Move slow. The water's strong. Keep your feet against the bottom. When you reach her, don't grab sudden-like. She might bite out of fear." "She won't bite me," Ben said with absolute certainty. Sarah held the rope as Ben lowered himself into the drain. The water came up to his chest immediately, the current trying to sweep him away. But he pressed on, moving toward the dog with strange confidence. "Hi," Ben said softly, his voice somehow carrying over the storm. "I'm Ben. I'm here to help you." The dog's eyes focused on him. Her tail, exhausted as she was, gave a single weak wag. "She says her name is Luna," Ben called back. "Someone was mean to her." "Really mean, but she got away to save her babies." Sarah and Marcus exchanged glances. The boy was talking as if having a conversation. Ben reached Luna. She immediately pressed against him, whimpering. "I need something to lift her with," he shouted. Marcus disappeared again, returning with a canvas tarp. He threw one end down to Ben, who somehow managed to work it under Luna's body. The dog didn't resist, seeming to understand. "Now!" Marcus shouted. He and Sarah pulled while Ben pushed from below, guiding Luna's injured leg. The dog yelped in pain, but didn't struggle. Inch by inch, they hauled her up through the opening. Luna collapsed on the pavement, coughing up water. Sarah immediately checked her over with her nurse's training. The dog was skeletal thin beneath her soaked fur, with old scars across her back and what looked like a badly healed break in her front leg. "Ben, get out now!" Sarah ordered, but Ben was already climbing out, Marcus pulling him up the last few feet. The moment he was on solid ground, he crawled to Luna, wrapping his small arms around her neck. "You're safe now," he whispered. "You and your babies are safe." Luna's tail thumped weakly against the ground. Despite everything, her eyes held a spark of hope that hadn't been there before. "We need to get her to a vet," Marcus said. Sarah's heart sank. She had exactly $43 in her bank account until payday, and that was for groceries. I don't know if I can afford—" "I know someone," Marcus interrupted. "Dr. Emma Chen. She runs an emergency clinic. She'll work with you on payment." They carried Luna to Marcus's truck, Ben refusing to leave her side. The dog was shivering uncontrollably now, her breathing labored. Sarah cranked the heat as Marcus drove through the flooded streets. "How did you know she was pregnant?" Sarah asked Ben. Ben looked up from where he was stroking Luna's head. "She told me, not with words, with feelings. She's scared her babies will die because she's so weak. She hasn't eaten in 4 days." "4 days? How could you possibly—" "The same way I knew Daddy was hurt before the army people came to tell us." Sarah's blood went cold. Ben had been only 2 when it happened, but he had woken up screaming that Daddy was hurt, that he couldn't breathe. 3 hours later, the notification officers had arrived. She had never told anyone about that. Dr. Emma Chen met them at the clinic door, despite it being past midnight. She was a small woman with kind eyes that sharpened when she saw Luna's condition. "Bring her straight back," she ordered. The examination room was bright and warm. Luna whimpered as doctor. Chen examined her, but stayed still when Ben kept his hand on her head. "This dog has been through hell, doctor," Chen said quietly. "Multiple old fractures, infected wounds, severe malnutrition, and yes, she's pregnant. about 2 weeks from delivery. Will the puppies survive? Ben asked. Dr. Chen's face was grim. I don't know. She's so malnourished that her body might not be able to support them. We need to get fluids and nutrients into her immediately. She started an IV, and Luna's eyes followed every movement. When the needle went in, she didn't even flinch. There's something else, Doctor, Chen said, examining Luna's ear. There's a tattoo here. Very faint, but this is a registration mark. This dog was valuable to someone. What do you mean? Sarah asked. This kind of marking is used by breeders, professional ones, or, she hesitated, less legal operations. Dog fighting rings sometimes mark their high-value breeding stock. Sarah felt sick. Someone used her for dog fighting, not for fighting, for breeding fighters. Look at her build, even starved as she is. She's from champion bloodlines. Someone paid a lot of money for her at some point. But they hurt her, Ben said, his voice small. She shows me pictures in my head. Men yelling, other dogs crying, a dark place that smelled like fear. Dr. Chen studied Ben with interest. You can understand her? Ben nodded. All animals, but Luna especially. It's like she's talking right into my thoughts. Most adults would have dismissed this as childhood imagination. But, Doctor. Chen nodded slowly. I've seen bonds like this before. Rare, but real. Some people are just tuned to a different frequency. She turned to Sarah. The immediate treatment will cost about $1,500. I can spread it over 3 months, no interest. But she'll need ongoing care, especially with the pregnancy. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Even spread out, it was more than she could manage. I work at General Hospital. I can take extra shifts, but Mama helps people, Ben interrupted. She saves lives every day but never has enough money. That's not fair. Marcus, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. I'll cover the first payment. Sarah turned to him in shock. Marcus, I can't. You can and you will. That boy of yours risked his life to save this dog. That kind of courage deserves support. Dr. Chen smiled. And I'll reduce my fees where I can. Luna's going to need all the help she can get. As they talked, Ben leaned close to Luna's ear. Sarah heard him whisper, See? I told you we'd help. You're going to be okay. Luna's tail, despite everything, managed another weak wag. They brought Luna home the next morning after she had stabilized. Sarah had called in sick to work, something she never did, but she couldn't leave Ben alone with an injured dog, and she couldn't afford a babysitter. The apartment looked even smaller with Luna in it. They made her a bed from old blankets in the corner of the living room, close to the radiator for warmth. She could barely walk, managing only a few steps before her legs gave out. She needs to eat, Ben said, sitting cross-legged beside her. But her throat hurts. Someone put something tight around her neck for a long time. Sarah examined Luna's neck more carefully. There was indeed a ring of scar tissue, partially hidden by her fur. Whatever had been around her neck had been there for months, maybe longer. Ben insisted on hand-feeding Luna, offering tiny pieces of the special food doctor. Chen had provided. The dog ate slowly, as if she had forgotten how. Between bites, Ben kept up a constant stream of soft conversation. This is your home now? That's the kitchen where Mama makes pancakes on Sundays. That's my room, but you can sleep there if you want. That's Mama's chair where she falls asleep, watching TV after work. Sarah watched them, something tight in her chest. Ben had been so lonely since they moved here after his father's death. No friends at school, no play dates. Just him and her, struggling to make ends meet. But with Luna, he seemed to come alive. That evening, Sarah's phone rang. It was her supervisor at the hospital. Sarah, I heard you called in sick. That's not like you. Is everything okay? Sarah explained about Luna, expecting criticism. Instead, her supervisor said, bring the story to the hospital newsletter. Maybe we can do a fundraiser. Lord knows you never ask for help, even when you need it. I couldn't. You could and you should. See you tomorrow. After hanging up, Sarah found Ben asleep against Luna's side, one small hand resting on her swollen belly. Luna's eyes were open, watching Sarah with an intensity that seemed almost human. He says you understand everything, Sarah said softly. I don't know if that's true, but thank you. He needed someone. We both did. Luna's tail thumped once against the floor. That night, Sarah woke to strange sounds. She found Ben sitting up in his sleeping bag beside Luna, his eyes closed but his lips moving. "Ben, what are you doing?" His eyes opened. Luna was having bad dreams about the place she came from. I was telling her new stories to replace the bad ones. "What kind of bad dreams?" Ben's face darkened. "There's a man. She's very scared of him. He wears shiny shoes and smells like cigarettes. He made her have puppies before, then took them away when they were too young. She could hear them crying for her, but she couldn't get to them." Sarah's stomach turned. "Oh, sweetheart." She escaped when she found out she was having puppies again. She broke through a window. That's how she hurt her leg. She's been running and hiding for a week, trying to find somewhere safe for her babies. The detail in Ben's story was too specific, too horrible to be made up by a 5-year-old. Sarah pulled him into her lap. "She's safe now. No one's going to take her puppies." Ben nodded against her chest. "That's what I keep telling her. But she's still scared he'll find her." Over the next few days, their small apartment transformed around Luna's presence. Sarah's co-workers, touched by the story, started dropping off dog food and supplies. Someone brought a proper dog bed. Another donated puppy blankets for when the babies came. Ben spent every moment he wasn't at school beside Luna. Her strength was returning slowly. She could walk to her water bowl now, though she still limped badly. Her ribs were less prominent, her coat starting to shine. "She says thank you for the food," Ben announced one evening as Sarah cooked dinner. She hasn't been full in so long she forgot what it felt like. Sarah had stopped questioning Ben's translations. Whether real or imagined, they brought him joy. "Ask her what she'd like for dessert," Sarah played along. Ben laughed, the sound filling the apartment. "She says she's never had dessert. Dogs don't get dessert. Well, this dog does. A little plain yogurt won't hurt." As Sarah spooned yogurt into a bowl, she noticed a van parked across the street. It had been there when she got home from work, and it was still there now, 3 hours later. The windows were tinted too dark to see inside. A chill ran down her spine. She was being paranoid. It was probably nothing, but Luna had noticed it too. She stood at the window, a low growl rumbling in her chest. "What is it, girl?" Sarah asked. Luna's growling intensified. Ben came over, placing his hand on Luna's head. His face went pale. "She knows that van," he whispered. "The bad man uses it. He's looking for her." Sarah's heart hammered. "Ben, are you sure?" Ben nodded, tears filling his eyes. "She can smell the cigarettes even from here. Mama, what if he tries to take her?" Sarah pulled out her phone, then hesitated. What would she tell the police? That her son claimed the dog recognized a van? They'd think she was crazy. The van's engine started. It pulled away slowly, almost reluctantly. Sarah watched until it turned the corner, but the sick feeling in her stomach remained. That night, she pushed a chair against the front door and checked the windows twice. Luna stationed herself between Ben's sleeping bag and the door, alert despite her exhaustion. The next morning, Sarah found a note under her door. Her hands shook as she read it. "Return what's ours or pay the price. The dog is valuable property. You have 3 days." Sarah's legs nearly gave out. She looked at Luna, who was watching her with those intelligent eyes, then at Ben, still sleeping peacefully. She called Marcus immediately. He was there within minutes, reading the note with a grim expression. "We need to call the police," he said. "And tell them what? Someone wants their dog back? They'll say it's a civil matter. Not if the dog was used in illegal fighting." Sarah made the call. Detective Ray Harrison arrived an hour later, a tall black man with observant eyes and a gentle manner that immediately put Ben at ease. "Tell me everything," he said. Sarah explained about finding Luna, her condition, the markings doctor. Chen had found. Ben, sitting with Luna's head in his lap, added details about what Luna had told him. Detective Harrison didn't dismiss Ben's claims. Instead, he took notes on everything. "The van you described, did you get a plate number?" "It was covered with mud," Sarah said. "Deliberately, I think." The detective nodded. "This sounds like Victor Kane's operation. We've been trying to nail him for years. He runs a dog fighting ring, but he's smart, never leaves evidence." "You know who he is?" Sarah asked. "Oh yes, but knowing and proving are different things. If this dog escaped from his operation, she might be the evidence we need." He looked at Luna. "Those scars, the old injuries, They tell a story. But Cain will claim she was stolen from him, that she's valuable breeding stock. She was stolen, Ben said suddenly, but not by us. By him. He took her when she was a puppy from a nice family. She remembers a little girl who used to brush her and call her princess. Detective Harrison studied Ben. How do you know that, son? She shows me pictures in her head. The little girl had yellow hair and a pink bedroom. Luna was a birthday present. The detective made more notes. I'll look into missing dog reports from a few years back. German Shepherd puppy, probably purchased from a legitimate breeder. He stood to leave, then paused. In the meantime, be careful. Cain doesn't like losing property, and he really doesn't like potential witnesses. After he left, Sarah sat beside Ben and Luna, her mind racing. They were in danger because she had let her son save a dog. But looking at them together, Ben whispering comfort while Luna's tail wagged despite everything. She knew she couldn't have done differently. Mama, Ben said quietly, Luna wants to know if we'll protect her puppies. Of course we will. Even if the bad man comes, Sarah pulled him close. Even then, we're family now, all of us. Luna struggled to her feet and limped over, resting her head on Sarah's knee. For a moment, Sarah could have sworn she understood what the dog was saying. Thank you. That afternoon, doctor, Chen made a house call to check on Luna. She performed an ultrasound with a portable machine, and Ben watched in fascination as the screen showed tiny forms moving inside Luna's belly. 6 puppies, doctor, Chen announced, all with strong heartbeats. 6, Ben exclaimed. Luna, you have 6 babies. Luna's tail wagged as if she understood. They'll need careful monitoring, doctor, Chen warned. Luna's still recovering. The birth could be complicated. As she packed up her equipment, she said quietly to Sarah, Detective Harrison called me. He's taking this seriously. Cain's been on their radar for years. I'm scared, Sarah admitted. I have a 5-year-old son. I can't put him in danger. You're not putting him in danger. Cain is. And from what I've seen, that boy of yours has a gift. Animals know who to trust, and Luna trusts him completely. That evening, Sarah's phone rang. It was her supervisor. Sarah, the strangest thing. A man came by asking if any of our staff had recently taken in a German Shepherd. Said his valuable breeding dog was stolen. Sarah's blood went cold. What did you tell him? Nothing. But Sarah, he was very insistent, very unpleasant. Security had to escort him out. I thought you should know. After hanging up, Sarah found Ben teaching Luna a gentle game, rolling a soft ball for her to nose back to him. The dog's eyes were bright with joy, something Sarah wouldn't have thought possible given what she had endured. Ben, we need to talk about being extra careful for a while. Ben looked up, his face serious. Because of the bad man? Yes. You need to stay close to me or your teacher at all times. No wandering off, even for a minute. Luna says he's getting closer. She can feel it, like a storm coming. That night, Sarah barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Luna seemed to sense her fear, positioning herself by the door, ears alert. At 3 a.m, Luna started growling. Sarah shot up, heart pounding. She heard footsteps in the hallway, stopping right outside their door. The doorknob rattled. Sarah grabbed her phone and Ben, pulling him into her bedroom. Luna stood guard, her growls growing louder. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's trying to break into my apartment, Sarah whispered. The doorknob rattled harder. Then suddenly the footsteps retreated, running down the hall. The police arrived within minutes, but whoever it had been was gone. They found scratches on the lock, evidence of an attempted break-in. We'll increase patrols, the officer promised, but you might want to consider staying somewhere else for a few days. But where could they go? Sarah had no family nearby, no close friends with space for them, and a pregnant dog. Marcus appeared in the hallway, having heard the commotion. Pack your things. You're staying with me. Marcus, we couldn't. You can and you will. I have a security system and a spare bedroom, and I'm a light sleeper with a baseball bat. They moved into Marcus's house that morning. It was small but neat, with a fenced backyard where Luna could safely go outside. Ben was thrilled to discover Marcus had a collection of books about animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian once, Marcus admitted, watching Ben flip through the pages. Before I became a firefighter. Why didn't you? Ben asked. Marcus's face clouded. Life got in the way. But maybe it's not too late to help animals another way. Luna settled into Marcus's house as if she had always belonged there. She found a sunny spot by the back window and spent hours watching birds, her tail wagging occasionally. She's happy here, Ben announced. She says it smells safe. Detective Harrison visited that afternoon with news. I found a report. 3 years ago, a German Shepherd puppy named Princess was stolen from a family in Riverside. The description matches Luna. Can we contact them? Sarah asked. The family moved to Europe last year, but they filed a detailed report, including DNA markers from the breeder. If we can match them to Luna, it proves Kane stole her. Dr. Chen took blood samples that day. Results in 48 hours, she promised. Those 2 days felt like weeks. Sarah jumped at every sound. Ben stayed inside, reading to Luna and feeling her puppy's kick. Marcus installed extra locks and motion sensor lights. On the second night, the motion sensors went off. Marcus and Sarah rushed to the window to see 2 men in the backyard trying to open the gate. Marcus grabbed his baseball bat. Call 911. I'm going out there. No! Sarah grabbed his arm. That's what they want, to separate us. Luna was growling, her hackles raised. Ben stood beside her, his small face fierce. They want to take her puppies and make them fight, he said. Luna says she'll die before she lets that happen. The men rattled the gate harder. Then car headlights flooded the yard as Detective Harrison's unmarked car pulled up. The men ran, but one stumbled. Officers tackled him to the ground. Got one, Detective Harrison said later. He's already talking. Says Kane hired him to retrieve the dog by any means necessary. Will that be enough to arrest Kane? Sarah asked. Combined with the DNA results and Luna's injuries, we're building a case. But Kane has good lawyers. We need more. Ben had been quiet, sitting with Luna. Suddenly he said, Luna knows where the bad place is. She could show you if you followed her feelings. Detective Harrison knelt beside him. What do you mean, son? She remembers everything. The sounds, the smells, the way the air felt. If we drove around, she could tell when we're getting close. Her heart would beat faster. She'd remember. It was unconventional, but Detective Harrison had seen stranger things work. Would she be strong enough for that? Dr. Chen examined Luna. Short trips, yes, but someone would need to monitor her stress levels. I'll go with her, Ben said firmly. I can tell when she's too scared. Sarah wanted to refuse, but the look in Ben's eyes stopped her. He needed to help Luna as much as Luna needed him. The next day, they drove in Detective Harrison's car, Luna in the back with Ben, Sarah beside them. They started in the industrial district, driving slowly through streets lined with warehouses. Luna was calm at first, watching out the window. Then, as they turned down a particular street, she began to whine. She recognizes something, Ben said. The smell. Oil and rust and something else. Something scary. They drove further. Luna's whining grew louder. As they passed a building with a red door, she began to howl, a sound of pure distress. That's it, Ben said with certainty. That's where they heard her. Detective Harrison noted the address. We'll need a warrant, but this gives us probable cause to investigate. As they drove away, Luna gradually calmed, exhausted by the emotional toll. Ben stroked her constantly, whispering reassurances. That night, Luna went into labor. It started with restlessness, pacing despite her exhaustion. Then the panting began, heavy and labored. It's too early, Doctor, Chen said when they called. I'm on my way. But the storm from the week before had returned, even stronger. Trees were down, roads flooded. Dr. Chen was trapped on the other side of town. You'll have to help her, she said over the phone. I'll walk you through it. Luna was in distress, her eyes wide with pain and fear. She kept looking at Ben as if asking for help. She's scared the puppies won't be okay, Ben said, tears streaming down his face. She thinks she's too weak. Sarah had delivered human babies as a nurse, but this was different. Luna was struggling, each contraction seeming to drain more of her limited strength. The first puppy is coming, Sarah announced, seeing the tiny form beginning to emerge. With Dr. Chen guiding them over speakerphone, Sarah helped deliver the first puppy. It was small, too small, and it wasn't breathing. No! Ben cried. He took the tiny form in his hands, rubbing it gently as Dr. Chen instructed. "Come on, little one. Your mama fought so hard for you. For endless seconds, nothing." Then a tiny squeak. The puppy was breathing. Luna, despite her exhaustion, immediately began cleaning her baby, her tail wagging weakly. 5 more puppies followed over the next 3 hours. Each one was a struggle. The 4th puppy was Breach, requiring Sarah to carefully turn it. The last was so small they thought it wouldn't survive. But Ben refused to give up on any of them. He held each one, whispering to them, helping them find their mother's milk when they were too weak to search for it themselves. "You're doing amazing, Luna," he kept saying. "Your babies are beautiful. They're all going to live." By dawn, 6 puppies were nursing, their tiny bodies lined up against Luna's belly. She was exhausted but alert, her eyes moving constantly between her babies and Ben. "She says thank you," Ben whispered to Sarah. "She says she couldn't have done it without us." Sarah, exhausted herself, could only nod. Whether or not Ben could really understand Luna, the bond between them had saved 7 lives tonight. Dr. Chen arrived as soon as the roads cleared. She examined each puppy and Luna, amazement clear on her face. "This is miraculous. Given Luna's condition, I wouldn't have expected all 6 to survive. But they're all strong, all healthy weights. Ben wouldn't—" "Let them die," Sarah said simply. Dr. Chen watched as Ben gently stroked each puppy, whispering their names. He had named them already: Storm, Hope, Brave, Lucky, Angel, and Miracle. "That boy has a gift," she said. "I've never seen anything like it," Detective Harrison called that afternoon. "We got the warrant. We're raiding the warehouse tonight." Sarah felt a mix of relief and fear. "Will Kane be there?" "We hope so. If not, we'll find evidence to track him down." That evening, as they waited for news, Luna suddenly became agitated. She stood, despite her exhaustion, and began growling at the door. "He's coming," Ben said, his face white. "The bad man. Luna can smell him. He's really close." Marcus grabbed his baseball bat. Sarah called 911. But before anyone could respond, they heard a car door slam outside. Through the window, they saw him. Victor Kane, tall, well-dressed, with shiny shoes that clicked on the walkway as he approached. He wasn't trying to hide. He walked right up to the front door and knocked. "I know you're in there," he called, his voice smooth and threatening. "You have something that belongs to me. I'm willing to pay for its return. $10,000 for the dog and her puppies." Sarah held Ben close, her hand over his mouth to keep him quiet. Luna was growling continuously now, positioning herself between her puppies and the door. "I have legal ownership papers," Kane continued. "The police can't help you. That dog is registered to me. You're harboring stolen property." Marcus looked at Sarah, then made a decision. He opened the door but kept the security chain on. "The dog was dying in a storm drain," he said. "That's animal cruelty." Kane smiled, a cold expression that didn't reach his eyes. "Prove it. I reported her missing a week ago. For all anyone knows, you stole her and caused those injuries yourself." "We have witnesses," Marcus said. "A 5-year-old boy? Good luck with that in court." Kane's voice hardened. "I'll give you one more chance. 20,000? That's more than you'll see in years." "Get off my property," Marcus said. Kane's smile vanished. "You have no idea who you're messing with. That dog is worth hundreds of thousands in breeding. Her puppies are already sold. If you don't return them, things will get very unpleasant." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Kane stepped back, his face furious. "This isn't over," he said, then walked calmly to his car and drove away. The police took statements, but Kane was right. Without proof he had abused Luna, it would be his word against theirs. "The raid tonight will change everything," Detective Harrison promised when he heard what happened. "Just hold on a little longer." But that night, the raid found an empty warehouse. Kane had been tipped off. All evidence was gone, cleaned out completely. "Someone warned him," Detective Harrison said, frustration clear in his voice. "But we're not giving up." The DNA results came back. Luna is definitely Princess, the stolen puppy. That's theft at minimum. But Kane had vanished. His house was empty, his phone disconnected. It seemed he had disappeared completely. For 3 days, they lived in tense quiet. Luna recovered slowly, nursing her puppies. Ben spent every moment with them, helping the smallest one, Miracle, who struggled to compete with her stronger siblings. On the fourth day, everything changed. Ben woke up screaming from a nightmare. "He's coming! He's coming with lots of men! Luna showed me!" Sarah tried to calm him, but Luna was agitated too, pacing despite her weakness, trying to move her puppies to hide them under the bed. "It's just a bad dream," Sarah soothed, but even as she said it, she heard vehicles outside, multiple vehicles. Marcus looked out the window and went pale. 3 vans, men getting out. They're surrounding the house. Sarah called 911, but even as she did, she knew help wouldn't come in time. The men were already at the doors, front and back. "Get to the bathroom," Marcus ordered. "Lock yourselves in." But it was too late. The front door exploded inward, the frame splintering. Men in dark clothes poured in. Marcus swung his bat, taking one down, but there were too many. "Where's the dog?" one shouted. Luna burst from the bedroom, attacking with a fury Sarah wouldn't have thought possible from a dog who had given birth just days ago. She latched onto one man's arm, bringing him down screaming. "Don't hurt her!" Ben screamed, running toward the chaos. "Ben, no!" Sarah grabbed for him, but missed. What happened next seemed to occur in slow motion. A man raised something, a club or pipe. Luna saw it aimed at Ben. She released the man she was fighting and threw herself between Ben and the weapon. The blow caught her across the ribs with a sickening crack. She went down hard but immediately struggled back up, standing over Ben, snarling at anyone who came close. "Stop!" a voice commanded from the doorway. Kane stood there, calm amid the chaos. "Don't damage the merchandise more than necessary." He walked in as if he owned the place, his shiny shoes clicking on the floor. "Hello, Bait," he said to Luna. "You've caused me a lot of trouble." Luna growled, blood dripping from her mouth where the blow had caused internal damage. "Quite the fighter when you want to be," Kane mused. "Too bad you wouldn't do it in the ring. You cost me a fortune." "She's not Bait," Ben shouted, tears streaming down his face. "Her name is Luna. She's Princess. You stole her." Kane's eyes turned to Ben, and something cold flickered in them. "You're the boy who thinks he can talk to dogs. How amusing. I can. And Luna tells me everything. About the dark place, about the other dogs you hurt, about the people who pay you to watch them die." Kane's face darkened. "Children have such imaginations." "She knows where you buried the dogs who lost," Ben continued, his voice rising. "Behind the red door, under the concrete. She can smell them still." For the first time, Kane looked unsettled. That was information no one could know unless they'd been there. "Take the dog and the puppies," he ordered his men. "Leave the people." "No!" Ben threw himself over Luna. "You can't have her." Kane nodded to one of his men, who grabbed Ben roughly, pulling him away. Luna tried to rise to protect him, but she was too injured. She could only whine as men gathered her puppies, shoving them carelessly into a crate. "Please," Sarah begged. "Please don't do this." She just gave birth. The puppies need her. "They'll survive or they won't," Kane said coldly. "Natural selection." As the men carried Luna out, she locked eyes with Ben one last time. Even Sarah could read the message there. "I'm sorry." "Luna!" Ben screamed, fighting against the man holding him. "Luna, I'll find you, I promise." And then they were gone, leaving destruction and devastation behind. But they had made one crucial mistake. In the chaos, no one had noticed Marcus's phone, recording everything from where it had fallen behind the couch. Every word, every threat, every admission. It would be enough. It had to be. The silence after Kane's men left was deafening. Ben sat on the floor where Luna had been, his small body shaking with sobs that seemed too big for his frame. Sarah held him, her own tears falling into his hair, while Marcus called Detective Harrison with trembling fingers. "They took her," Marcus said into the phone. "Kane came himself." "They took Luna and all 6 puppies." Detective Harrison's response was immediate. "Don't touch anything. I'm bringing the entire unit. And Marcus, tell me you have security cameras." "Better." My phone was recording. There was a pause. "Send me that video right now. If Kane's on it, we've got him." Within 20 minutes, the house was swarming with police. Detective Harrison watched the video, his face growing darker with each second. This is it. Assault, breaking and entering, theft, and he admitted to the dog fighting. We can arrest him now. But where did they take Luna? Ben asked, his voice hoarse from crying. We'll find her, son. I promise. Ben shook his head. She's hurt bad. I could feel it when they carried her out. Something's broken inside. If we don't find her soon. He didn't finish, but everyone understood. Luna might not have long. Detective Harrison made calls, setting up roadblocks, alerting every unit in the city. But Kane had vanished like smoke. His vans were found abandoned an hour later, empty except for drops of blood that made Ben wail anew. He switched vehicles, Detective Harrison said grimly. But we know his properties. We'll search everyone. Sarah took Ben home to their apartment, which had been repaired by the landlord. The place felt empty without Luna's presence. Ben wouldn't eat, wouldn't speak, except to say over and over, "She's calling for me. She thinks we abandoned her." That night, Ben didn't sleep. He sat at the window, eyes closed, tears running down his face. "I can still feel her," he whispered to Sarah. "She's so scared. The puppies are crying, and she can't get to them. They separated them." Sarah's heart broke. Whether Ben's connection was real or imagined, his pain was genuine. "We'll find her, baby." "The police are looking everywhere." "Not everywhere," Ben said suddenly, his eyes snapping open. "The place with the boats. Luna can hear water and seagulls and trains. There are trains really close." Sarah called Detective Harrison immediately. "Ben says he can sense where Luna is, near water, seagulls, and trains." Another parent might have dismissed it, but Harrison had seen too much to ignore any lead. "The old fishery district, abandoned warehouses by the docks. The train yard is right there. Please," Sarah begged, "please find her. We're heading there now." The wait was agony. Ben pressed against Sarah, whimpering occasionally as if in pain. "She's getting weaker," he said. "She's bleeding inside. She keeps trying to call for her babies, but no sound comes out." 3 hours later, Detective Harrison called. His voice was tight with anger. "We found evidence they were here. Blood, dog crates, everything. But they're gone again. Moved out maybe an hour before we arrived." "Someone's warning him," Marcus said. He had come to stay with them, unable to be alone after the attack. "Someone in the department," Detective Harrison's silence was telling. "We're investigating that possibility." Ben suddenly gasped, doubling over as if in pain. "Something's wrong. He started hyperventilating. "Mama, she's dying." "I can feel her dying." Sarah grabbed him, terrified. "Ben, breathe. You're having a panic attack." "No! It's Luna. She can't breathe right. Something's filling up inside where it shouldn't be." He grabbed Sarah's face. "Mama, we have to find her now. Right now." Sarah looked at Marcus helplessly. Then Ben did something that chilled her to the bone. He went completely still, his eyes rolling back, and when he spoke, his voice was different. Older, desperate. "The puppies are at 4th and Industrial. The mother is at the veterinary college. Room B12. Hurry." Then he collapsed. Sarah caught him, screaming. Marcus was already on the phone with Detective Harrison, relaying the information. Sarah checked Ben's pulse, found it racing but strong. His eyes fluttered open. "Did I find her?" he asked weakly. Detective Harrison's team hit both locations simultaneously. At 4th and Industrial, they found the puppies in a basement, hungry and cold, but alive, all 6 of them, crying for their mother. At the veterinary college, they found something that made hardened officers weep. Luna was on a metal table in a teaching lab, barely breathing. She had been dumped there with a note. "Practice surgery. Internal bleeding. No owner." Some student had started to examine her, then realized this wasn't a planned teaching case, and called security. She had been lying there, dying, for hours. Detective Harrison called Sarah from the scene. "We have her. She's alive, but barely. They're rushing her into emergency surgery." "What about Kane?" "Gone, but we have his men, and they're talking. Kane's empire is crumbling." Sarah bundled Ben into a taxi, racing to the veterinary hospital. They arrived as Luna was being wheeled into surgery. Ben broke free from Sarah's grip, running to the gurney. "Luna, I'm here! I found you!" Luna's eyes, glazed with pain and medication, focused on him. Her tail gave the faintest twitch. "You have to fight," Ben said, walking alongside the gurney as far as they had let him. "Your babies need you, I need you. Please don't leave." Dr. Chen was there, having been called in to assist. 3 broken ribs, 1 punctured her lung, internal bleeding. It's going to be touch and go. The surgery took 4 hours. Ben sat in the waiting room, refusing to move, his eyes closed. Sometimes he would whisper things like, "It's okay, the pain will stop soon," or, "They're fixing you, don't be scared." Sarah watched him, wondering and worrying in equal measure. Whatever this connection was, it was consuming her son. Finally, Doctor Chen emerged exhausted. She made it through surgery. The next 24 hours are critical, but she's a fighter. "Can I see her?" Ben asked. "She's sedated, but yes." Briefly, Luna lay still, surrounded by machines. Tubes and wires covered her body. She looked so small, so fragile. Ben approached slowly, placing his small hand on her paw. "I brought your puppies," he whispered. "They're here. They're safe. Everyone's safe now." Luna's eyes remained closed, but Sarah could have sworn she saw her relax slightly. They brought the puppies to the hospital, setting up a warming box near Luna's recovery kennel. The little ones cried constantly for their mother, and the sound seemed to give Luna strength. Within hours, she was trying to lift her head, whining softly toward her babies. "She needs them," Ben insisted. "They need to be together." Dr. Chen was reluctant. "She's too weak to nurse them." "Just let them be near her. Please." Against protocol, they placed the puppies around Luna, making sure not to put pressure on her injuries. The change was immediate. The puppies quieted, nuzzling against their mother's warmth. Luna's breathing steadied, her heart rate improved. "Remarkable, Doctor," Chen murmured. "The emotional component of healing. We underestimated." Ben stayed at the hospital, refusing to leave. Sarah had to call him in sick from school, explaining the situation. Surprisingly, the principal himself came to visit, bringing Ben's homework and a card signed by his entire class. "The news is covering the story," he explained. "Everyone knows what Ben did, how he helped save Luna. Indeed, the media had gotten hold of the tale. Boy who talks to dogs helps police bust fighting ring." Reporters clustered outside the hospital, wanting to interview Ben. But Ben wouldn't leave Luna's side. He sat by her kennel, reading to her from his animal books, telling her stories about what life would be like when she was better. On the second day, Luna opened her eyes fully. She looked directly at Ben, and her tail wagged. Actually wagged despite everything. "She says thank you," Ben told everyone. "She says she held on because she could hear me calling her." Detective Harrison visited that afternoon with news. "Kane's been arrested. He was hiding at his mother's house 3 states away. He's being extradited to face charges." "Will he go to prison?" Sarah asked. "With the video evidence, the testimony of his men, and what we found at his properties?" "He's looking at 20 years minimum." But Ben wasn't satisfied. "What about the other dogs? The ones still out there?" Detective Harrison smiled. "Because of you, we've rescued 43 dogs from various locations, all fighting dogs or bait dogs. They're getting treatment." "Can I see them?" Ben asked. Sarah started to object, but Detective Harrison nodded. "I think that might actually help. Some of them are too traumatized to let anyone near them." So began Ben's visits to the other rescued dogs. Each day after spending the morning with Luna, he would visit the shelter where the fighting dogs were housed. Dogs that cowered from adults would creep forward to sniff Ben's outstretched hand. Dogs that wouldn't eat would take food from him. "He has a gift," the shelter director said in amazement. "I've never seen anything like it." One dog in particular drew Ben's attention, a scarred pit bull named Diesel, who had been Kane's champion fighter. The dog was scheduled to be euthanized, deemed too dangerous to rehabilitate. "He's not mean," Ben insisted after sitting outside Diesel's kennel for an hour. "He's sad. He never wanted to fight. He just wanted someone to love him." The shelter staff was skeptical, but Ben persisted. Day after day, he sat by Diesel's kennel, talking softly, reading stories. Slowly, the dog began to respond. First, just watching Ben, then moving closer to the bars. Finally, after a week, accepting a treat from Ben's hand. "He says he's sorry," Ben told the shelter director, "for all the dogs he hurt. He didn't know how to stop." It sounded fantastical, But when they finally let Ben into the kennel, supervised by 3 staff members, Diesel did something no one expected. The massive scarred fighter dropped to his belly and crawled to Ben, tail wagging, whimpering like a puppy. The video went viral. Boy tames killer, dog with kindness. Donations poured into the shelter. Diesel was removed from the euthanasia list. Meanwhile, Luna grew stronger. She was able to stand, then walk a few steps. Her puppies thrived, growing round and playful. Storm, the biggest, was bold and adventurous. Hope was gentle and sweet. Brave lived up to his name, always the first to explore. Lucky had a white patch shaped like a 4-leaf clover. Angel had the softest fur. And Miracle, the smallest, had not only survived but flourished, though she never strayed far from her mother. 3 weeks after the rescue, Kane's trial began. Ben was called as a witness, despite his age. The courtroom was packed with media, animal rights activists, and survivors of Kane's operation. Ben sat in the witness chair, looking impossibly small. Kane sat at the defense table, his expression cold and dismissive. "Ben," the prosecutor began gently, "can you tell us what Luna told you about Mr. Kane?" The defense attorney objected immediately. "This is ridiculous. The child cannot claim to speak for a dog." But the judge, an elderly woman with keen eyes, overruled. "The child can testify to his observations and impressions." Ben looked directly at Kane as he spoke. "Luna remembers everything. She remembers when you took her from her real family. The little girl cried for days. You told the family their puppy ran away, but really you stole her because you knew she had champion bloodlines." Kane's lawyer objected again, but Ben continued. "She remembers the first time you tried to make her fight. She was only 6 months old. She wouldn't do it, so you hurt her. You broke her leg and let it heal wrong, so she would always remember." The courtroom was silent. Kane's face had gone pale. "She remembers every dog that died in your place. Roscoe, who was gentle and liked butterflies. Max, who used to be a family pet before you stole him. Bella, who had puppies that you drowned because they weren't mean enough." "How could you possibly know those names?" the defense attorney demanded. Ben's eyes never left Kane. "Because Luna remembers. Dogs never forget the ones who suffer with them. She carries all their stories." Then Ben did something unexpected. He pulled out a piece of paper. "These are the addresses where you buried them. Luna knows because she can smell them, even under concrete." The prosecutor took the paper, eyes widening. "Your Honor, we request a recess to investigate these claims." The recess lasted 3 hours. When court reconvened, the prosecutor's face was grim. "Your Honor, we sent teams to the first 2 addresses on the child's list. We found remains of multiple dogs at both locations." The courtroom erupted. Kane's lawyer frantically whispered to his client, but the damage was done. When order was restored, the judge asked Ben directly, "Son, how did you know where those poor animals were buried?" Ben's answer was simple. "Luna showed me in dreams. She said they needed to be found so they could rest. She promised them someone would come for them someday." Whether the court believed Ben could actually communicate with Luna, or thought he had overheard Kane's men talking, the result was the same. The locations were real, the evidence was overwhelming, but the most dramatic moment came when Luna herself was brought into the courtroom. She had healed enough to walk, though she still limped. The prosecutor had argued that the jury needed to see the victim. The moment Luna entered, she saw Kane. Her reaction was immediate and visceral. She pressed against Ben's legs, trembling, a low whine escaping her throat. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She lay down, rolled onto her back in submission, and wet herself in fear. "This is a trained German shepherd," the prosecutor said quietly. "Look what this man has reduced her to." But Kane made a fatal mistake. He stood up, angry, and shouted, "That dog cost me a fortune." She was supposed to breed champions, not cower like a worthless mutt. His lawyer tried to stop him, but Kane continued. "I gave that bitch everything, food, shelter, the best mates, and she gave me nothing but weak puppies and defiance." "So you admit she was yours?" the prosecutor asked calmly. Kane realized his error too late. He had just confessed to owning Luna, to using her for breeding, to his involvement in the entire operation. The jury deliberated for less than an hour, guilty on all charges, 25 years in prison without possibility of parole. As Kane was led away in handcuffs, he passed close to where Ben sat with Luna. The dog pressed closer to Ben, but didn't cower this time. She stood tall, protective, her eyes meeting Kane's with something like triumph. "She says she forgives you," Ben said quietly, "but she'll never forget." Kane's face contorted with rage, but the bailiffs dragged him away before he could respond. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them, but one question rose above the rest. What will happen to Luna and her puppies now? Sarah stepped forward, Ben's hand in hers, Luna's leash in the other. "They're coming home with us. They're family." The crowd erupted in cheers. Someone started a "Luna! Luna!" chant that echoed off the buildings. But the story wasn't over. The publicity from the trial brought unexpected consequences. Letters poured in from around the world. People wanting to adopt the puppies, offering donations, sharing their own stories of rescued animals. A wealthy philanthropist who had followed the case offered to pay for Luna's ongoing medical care and set up a college fund for Ben. "Any boy who can see into the hearts of animals deserves every opportunity," she wrote. Dr. Chen offered Ben an internship at her clinic when he was older. "You have a gift that can't be taught," she said. "I'd be honored to help you develop it." The shelter where Diesel and the other fighting dogs were housed received enough donations to build a new rehabilitation center. They named it Luna's Haven. As the puppies grew, it became clear they had inherited their mother's intelligence and Ben's trust. Storm was adopted by Marcus, who had grown attached to the bold puppy. Hope went to Dr. Chen. Brave was adopted by Detective Harrison, who said every cop needed a brave partner. Lucky went to a family whose son had autism and connected immediately with the gentle puppy. Angel was adopted by Ben's teacher, who had been following the story from the beginning. But Miracle stayed. "She's meant to be here," Ben explained. "Luna told me. Miracle is supposed to help other hurt animals, like her mom was hurt." Indeed, Miracle seemed to have inherited Ben's gift. When they visited the shelter, she would go straight to the most traumatized dogs, lying quietly beside their kennels until they calmed. 6 months after the trial, they received unexpected news. The little girl whose puppy had been stolen, Princess's original owner, had seen the news coverage. Her family flew in from Europe to meet Luna. Sarah was terrified Luna would want to go with her original family. But when the girl, now a teenager named Emma, knelt before Luna, something beautiful happened. Luna sniffed her carefully, tail wagging slowly. She licked Emma's face once, gently, as if saying hello to an old friend. Then she returned to Ben's side. "She remembers you," Ben told Emma. "She says you taught her what love was. But her place is here now. She has work to do." Emma cried, but they were tears of joy. "I'm just so happy she survived. That she found you." She visited for a week, spending time with Luna and the puppies, sharing stories of Luna's early days. Before she left, she gave Ben a photo album, pictures of Luna as a tiny puppy playing in that pink bedroom Ben had described without ever seeing it. "You brought her back to life," Emma said, "not just saved her. Brought back the dog I knew was inside." The first anniversary of Luna's rescue was approaching when Ben had the dream. He woke up gasping, not in fear, but in urgency. "Mama, there are more. Luna showed me. There are more fighting rings, more dogs suffering. We have to help them." Sarah's heart sank. They had been through so much. Did they really need to get involved in more danger? But looking at Ben's determined face, at Luna sitting alertly beside his bed, as if she too had shared the dream, Sarah knew they didn't have a choice. "What did you see?" she asked. "A place 2 hours north. Dogs in cages. Some of them are just puppies. They're training them to be mean, but they're not mean yet. We can save them if we hurry." Sarah called Detective Harrison, who had become a close family friend. He listened without skepticism. Ben's visions had proven too accurate to dismiss. "I'll look into it," he promised. 2 days later, he called back. "There have been reports of suspicious activity at an old farm up north. Dogs barking at odd hours, strange vehicles coming and going." "That's it," Ben said, having grabbed the phone. "Luna recognizes the description. Some of Kane's men went there after he was arrested. They're starting over. The raid was planned for that night. This time, Ben wasn't allowed anywhere near the scene. But he sat at home with Luna, both of them tense, waiting. "They're scared," Ben whispered to Sarah. "The dogs. They can hear the sirens coming. They think they're in trouble." The phone rang at midnight. Detective Harrison's voice was tired but satisfied. 22 dogs rescued, 3 men arrested. "You were right, Ben. It was some of Kane's former associates trying to rebuild. Ben smiled for the first time all day. Luna says thank you. Those dogs, some of them were born in cages. They've never seen the sky. Well, they'll see it now, Harrison said. Thanks to you and Luna. The rescue made national news. Boy and rescued dog become team of heroes. Suddenly, Ben was getting calls from law enforcement agencies across the country. Could he help find other fighting rings? Could Luna identify dogs that had been stolen? It was overwhelming for a 6-year-old. Sarah tried to shield him, but Ben was determined. This is why Luna found me, he said with certainty beyond his years. We're supposed to help. All the dogs that can't speak for themselves, we're their voice. So began a new chapter. Working with a national animal welfare organization, Ben and Luna became consultants of sorts. When fighting rings were suspected, Ben would look at photos, videos, sometimes visit sites after they were secured. More often than not, he could provide information that led to rescues. Luna, despite her injuries, seemed to understand her role. At rescue sites, she would calm terrified dogs, showing them that humans could be trusted. Her scars, rather than making her fearsome, seemed to tell other dogs that she understood their pain. The work was hard. There were days when Ben would come home crying, overwhelmed by the suffering he had seen. Days when Luna would have nightmares, whimpering and thrashing, reliving her own trauma. But there were victories too. Dogs reunited with families, fighting rings shut down, bad people going to prison. 1 year turned into 2. Ben grew taller, his gift growing stronger. He started school programs, teaching children how to recognize signs of animal abuse, how to report it, how to help. Luna aged gracefully, her limp barely noticeable now. Miracle grew strong and beautiful, accompanying them on their rescue missions, her gentle presence calming the most traumatized animals. Then came the letter that changed everything. It was from a veterinary college in California. They had been following Ben's story and wanted to offer him something unprecedented. Early admission to their program when he turned 14. They would provide tutors, special accommodations, everything needed to nurture his gift, while giving him the scientific knowledge to back it up. It's 8 years away, Sarah said, reading the letter in amazement. But they want to guarantee your spot now. Ben looked at Luna, who was gray around the muzzle now, but still strong. What do you think, girl? Want to help me become a real animal doctor? Luna's tail wagged, and she did something she rarely did anymore. She barked, loud and joyful, as if saying yes. The story could have ended there, with hope and promise for the future. But life had one more test for them. Ben was 8 when Luna's health began to decline. It started small, less energy on walks, less appetite, more time sleeping. Dr. Chen's diagnosis was gentle but devastating. Her heart is failing. All the trauma, the injuries, the stress of those early years. It's catching up with her. How long? Sarah asked, holding Ben as he cried. Months, maybe a year if we're lucky. Ben refused to accept it. She survived everything else. She'll survive this too. But even he could feel the change in their connection. Luna's thoughts were quieter, more distant. She spent most of her time lying in the sunny spot by the window, watching the world with peaceful eyes. One morning, she couldn't stand up. Ben stayed home from school, lying beside her, whispering all the things he needed her to know. How she had saved him as much as he had saved her. How she had taught him his purpose. How she would never really leave because she had changed the world. You did it, Luna, he whispered. You survived. You had your puppies. You helped save so many others. You can rest now if you need to. Luna's tail wagged weakly. She looked at him with those amber eyes that had seen so much pain but chosen love anyway. Then she looked at Miracle, as if passing on a torch. She lasted 3 more days, long enough for all her puppies to visit. Storm, Hope, Brave, Lucky, and Angel all came, now full-grown and magnificent. They seemed to understand, each lying beside their mother for a time, saying goodbye in their own way. Detective Harrison came, tears in his eyes as he thanked Luna for helping him save so many. Dr. Chen came, calling Luna the bravest patient she had ever treated. Marcus came, the gruff man crying openly as he stroked Luna's head. Even Emma flew in from Europe, kneeling beside Luna one last time. Thank you for surviving, she whispered. Thank you for becoming who you were meant to be. On the last morning, Luna managed to stand one final time. She walked slowly to the window where she had spent so many hours. The sun was rising, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Ben sat beside her, his hand on her side, feeling each labored breath. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'll take care of Miracle. I'll keep helping the others. Your story will never end." Luna turned to look at him one last time. In that moment, Ben felt everything she wanted to say. The gratitude, the love, the peace of knowing she had lived a life that mattered. Then she laid her head in his lap, sighed once, deeply, and was still. The funeral was bigger than anyone expected. The story had spread on social media, and hundreds of people came to say goodbye to the dog who had survived the impossible. The mayor spoke, the police chief spoke, but it was Ben who said what mattered. "Luna taught me that being hurt doesn't mean you stop loving. Being scared doesn't mean you stop fighting. She could have given up so many times, but she didn't. She held on until she found us, until we found each other. She wasn't just a dog. She was a hope with 4 legs and a tail." They buried her in a special section of the pet cemetery, her grave marked with a stone that read, "Luna, Princess, Mother, Hero. Her love saved many." But the story doesn't end with goodbye. 6 months after Luna's death, Ben received a call. A dog had been found in circumstances eerily similar to Luna's, trapped in a flooding basement during a storm, heavily pregnant, bearing the scars of fighting rings. Ben, now 9, arrived at the scene with Miracle. The dog was a pit bull, scarred and terrified, growling at anyone who came close. "Hello," Ben said softly, approaching slowly. "I know you're scared. I know people have been cruel, but I also know someone who was just like you. Her name was Luna, and she taught me that even the most broken hearts can heal." The dog stopped growling, tilting her head as if listening. "She's gone now," Ben continued, tears in his eyes. "But her daughter is here. Miracle. She understands too." Miracle approached the scared dog, lying down nearby, patient and calm. Slowly, so slowly, the pit bull's rigid posture relaxed. "What's your name?" Ben asked, though he knew she couldn't answer in words. But then, in that way he heard something. Not a word, but a feeling. A desperate need to trust, fighting against the fear. "Faith," he said suddenly. "Your name is Faith. Because that's what you need now. Faith that not all humans are bad. Faith that your puppies will be safe. Faith that love is still possible." The dog's tail, scarred and broken, gave the tiniest wag. They rescued Faith that day. She had 8 puppies, all of whom survived. Her story, like Luna's, spread across the internet. More donations came in, more fighting rings were exposed, more dogs were saved. Ben is 11 now. He speaks at conferences about animal welfare. He's written a book about Luna, with all proceeds going to rescue organizations. He still has that gift, that ability to understand what animals cannot say in words. Miracle is by his side always, carrying on her mother's legacy. She's helped rescue over 100 dogs now, each one learning to trust again through her gentle presence. And sometimes, late at night, when the moon is full and the world is quiet, Ben swears he can still feel Luna. A warm presence, a feeling of approval, a whisper that sounds like wind but feels like love. "She's still here," he tells Sarah, "in every dog we save, in every person who chooses kindness over cruelty. She's in the work we do." Sarah holds her son, this remarkable boy who found his purpose in a storm drain on a terrible night, who heard the cries others ignored, who refused to give up even when hope seemed lost. The world is still full of storm drains, full of scared and suffering animals, but it's also full of people like Ben, like Sarah, like Marcus and Doctor, Chen and Detective Harrison, people who choose to act when action is needed, people who understand that love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make every day. Luna's story began with abandonment and cruelty. It ended with love and legacy. But really, it hasn't ended at all. Every time someone reads her story and decides to check on that stray they've been seeing, every time someone reports suspected abuse instead of looking away, every time a child like Ben stands up and says, "I'll help," Luna's story continues. In the end, that's what Luna taught us. That one voice, even a small one, even a scared one, can start a chorus. That one act of kindness can ripple outward in ways we never imagined. That sometimes the most broken among us become the strongest voices for change. Ben still visits Luna's grave every week. He tells her about the dogs they've saved, the laws that have been changed, the hearts that have been opened. And every single time, without fail, a warm breeze stirs the flowers on her grave, as if she's saying, "Good job. Keep going." The storm drain where it all began has been turned into a memorial. A plaque tells Luna's story, but more importantly, it lists a number to call if you see an animal in distress. Because of Luna, that drain has saved 17 other animals who were reported by people who remembered her story. Ben is often asked if he's sad that Luna is gone. His answer is always the same: she's not gone. She just changed form. Now, instead of being one dog, she's the courage in every rescue. She's the hope in every shelter. She's the love that makes people say, "I'll help," instead of walking away. As I write this final chapter of Luna's story, I'm watching Ben work with a new rescue, a bait dog, like Luna was. Scared, scarred, but still somehow willing to try one more time. Ben is patient, gentle, letting the dog come to him in its own time. "You know," he says to the dog, "Luna would have liked you. She always said the strongest dogs were the ones who chose love after knowing hate." That's real courage. The dog, as if understanding, takes one tentative step forward, then another. Until finally, for the first time in who knows how long, she accepts a gentle touch from a human hand. And somewhere, somehow, in that moment, Luna's tail wags in approval. Her body is gone, but her spirit lives on in every rescue, every reunion, every second chance given to a dog who had given up hope. She was one dog who changed thousands of lives, and her story, our story, is far from over. Because tomorrow, someone will read this and decide to adopt instead of shop. Someone will report abuse they might have ignored. Someone will give a scared dog one more chance. And Luna's legacy will grow, one rescued soul at a time. That's the power of one small boy who heard crying in a storm. That's the magic of a dog who refused to give up. That's the miracle of love, choosing to act instead of looking away. Luna showed us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they have 4 legs and a wagging tail. Sometimes they're 5-year-old boys who believe in impossible things. Sometimes they're ordinary people who simply choose to care. What will you choose? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if Luna's story touched your heart. Comment below with your own rescue stories or how this story has inspired you to make a difference. Together, we can ensure that no dog suffers in silence, that no cry for help goes unheard. Be someone's Luna. Be someone's Ben. Be the reason a suffering animal finds hope again. Subscribe to follow more rescue stories and to support our mission to end animal cruelty. Every share saves lives. Every comment spreads awareness. Every subscription strengthens our voice for those who cannot speak.